Hello everyone, this is Jim and you are watching Talking Vintage. Today is August the 16th and I want to welcome everybody to the show. Coming to you from Decades Reclaimed Vintage Depot, located at 502 West Brennan Road, Lakeland, Florida, 33813. Today, in 1954, was the first ever issue of Sports Illustrated. In 1954, wow. I didn't know it came out that long ago. I'll bet those are collectible items now. A 1954 issue of Sports Illustrated. Today is National Joke Day, so I have a joke for you, okay? Why did the golfer bring two pairs of pants? Answer is, in case he got a hole in one. Now this is a dad joke. I don't really understand the dad joke thing, but there you go. It's a dad joke. Little kids, when I ran a kids program, they would tell me jokes like that all the time. Why did the chicken cross the road? And I'd say, why? Because it was hungry. Okay, whatever, moving on. Our first topic of discussion is why buy vintage? If you're a customer and you're shopping in a vintage store, it's usually going to be cheaper for you. So if you're looking to buy a piece of furniture, clothing, maybe some house decor, going to a vintage shop, for the most part, should be cheaper. So you're going to save some money. Also, the quality's probably better. Back in the day, you know, every generation probably says this, but back in the day, things were built better. And that's true for the most part. So you're probably getting a higher quality item if you're buying vintage instead of modern retail. Next thing is it's sustainable. You're helping the environment by buying something that's already been made, and you're reusing it, recycling it, however you want to look at it. But buying vintage is sustainable. And the last thing is it's different. It's unique. So vintage gives you a different style. You know, make a style of your own using vintage items. Okay. Moving on to our question and answering session. What's the best time of year for vintage? Well, that's kind of a broad stroke there. If you're selling it, it's fall through winter. That's our season. Our biggest time of year is fall through winter, and I think that holds true for most vintage shops around, you know, not just in Florida, but around all over the place. If you're buying, the best time is, it's just year round, because there's different reasons why people get rid of stuff. You know, tax season, people have to make the tax, make their tax, they'll sell stuff. Right after Christmas, there's usually a flux. Before Christmas, people are selling items to purchase new items and gifts for others. So holidays, just all sorts of different times. There's never really a set time of year to buy vintage. More year-round, and you'll see ups and downs in the buying market, and usually, you know, for no good reason. Some are, but some aren't. Okay, here's one. Who pays for something when it gets broken in a shop? Well, the short answer is you do. If you're the customer and you break it, then you're probably expected to pay for it. If you're a vendor and you're in a shop and somebody breaks your item, you're probably expected to pay for it, or you pay for it by losing the item. So if something breaks in a vintage shop, it's your responsibility. Very rarely will the shop take responsibility for broken items. I don't know of any shops here at Decades Reclaimed Vintage Depot. They do not. They're not responsible for broken or stolen items. They do their best to keep items from getting stolen and getting broken, but there's only so much a shop can do, so they will not take responsibility for that. Most of the time we find that the customer will go ahead and pay for the item if they knowingly broke it. If it's broken beforehand and they didn't break it, they bring it to the attention. We just pass that on to the vendor to see what they want to do with the item, what they want to fix it, or they want to just get rid of it. So yeah, so short answer is who pays for it? It's you do. Okay, moving on to our vending corner, and this kind of ties into that item that got broken that you fixed. Selling stuff as is. It's an okay practice, I believe, to sell stuff as is long as you're putting that on the tag. Here at Decades Reclaimed Vintage Depot, they don't allow any returns. You can see up towards there, all sales are final. So it's great to have on the tag as is, so people know that there might be an imperfection to the piece, or maybe it's a project piece that needs to be fixed up. So selling things as is not a bad thing. You don't have to write a big description on the tag and tell everybody exactly what it is, but you want to sell it as is, or maybe, you know, as is, small crack on it or small chip on it if it's a piece of china or glass, where you could do that. The next question, or the next thing we're going to talk about as far as being a vendor in a vintage shop, is more space better? And the short answer is yes, it is, as long as you can maintain it. If you're successful in the space that you're in and you have the merchandise to expand, then yes. But if you're just going to expand to put more merchandise in and you weren't successful in your first booth or your first area that was smaller, you're not going to be successful just by adding space to it. You have to be successful in the space that you have, and then of course adding on to it is going to make you more successful, because you're going to be able to do that. You're going to be able to sell more items, but you have to have the items and you have to be successful to begin with. So somebody like starts off on a shelf, and we've had this happen at Decades before. They're very successful, they move into a booth, they're very successful there. Now if they had the merchandise and they had the will to, you know, and the time to work on a bigger booth, they can move to a bigger booth. All right, well, that's it for today's show. Today's show was show number 30, by the way. I think I showed that in the beginning. There it is again, show number 30. We appreciate everybody watching it. Come back again next week, and we'll have show number 31. And hopefully Warren will be back soon to help me with these shows. Thank you, and have a great day.